Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Omar Khalid. But today is the 15th of July 2021 and these are the stories that we will be discussing during the course of the show. We will begin, ladies and gentlemen, by the two-day official visit of our Prime Minister Imran Khan to Tashkent in Uzbekistan. He is accompanied by the Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Chaudhry Fawad Hussain, also the Information Minister, Minister for Maritime Affairs, National Security Advisor Moeed Yusuf and Atif Khan. A lot of MOUs and agreements are to be signed between the two countries on different fora that include trade, of course, and economic cooperation, connectivity, and there are also important meetings that are going to be held. The Prime Minister also inaugurated the Uzbekistan-Pakistan Business Forum today as well. This is going to be our leading segment. Then, ladies and gentlemen, our second segment of the day concerns Taliban who have captured a strategic border crossing of Spin Boldak along the border with Pakistan and then confiscated 3 billion Pakistani rupees currency notes that were left by the Afghan forces. Now, the security officials say that this money has been given to terrorists to carry out actions inside of Pakistan. And of course, the first thing that we pinpoint towards is our not so friendly neighbor India. A network of RAW and NDS acquires Pakistani currency to use it against Pakistan. Also, Pakistan has said on Wednesday that it will host an exclusive conference on the crisis being faced by the war-torn country, that is Afghanistan. This was said by Fawad Chaudhry, our Information Minister. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking about the latest situation as far as COVID-19 is concerned. Of course, the fourth wave is upon us as per the indications of Asad Umar Saab, our Prime Minister, and also Dr. Faisal Sultan. We need to be extremely cautious. We need to get ourselves vaccinated, not doubly vaccinated, but vaccinated nevertheless, and of course follow the SOPs and stay extremely vigilant because Eid al-Azha is also upon us. It's going to be next week, so avoid crowded places at the maximum. And then finally, former President of Pakistan, Mamnoon Hussain Saab, passed away of a protracted illness. He was, of course, an eminent president of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, and there have been, of course, different people from different walks of life who have poured in their condolences for the former president of Pakistan, Mr. Mamnoon Hussain. Let's begin with our first segment, ladies and gentlemen, that concerns Prime Minister Imran Khan, who has arrived with a delegation in Tashkent in Uzbekistan. Different MOUs agreements are to be signed, and also 100 plus businessmen are already in Tashkent as we speak. More in the following report.
Premier Imran Khan embarked on a two-day official visit to Uzbekistan at the invitation of Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev. The Prime Minister's visit will cover entire spectrum of bilateral relations with Tashkent, as this visit carries special significance, particularly regarding bilateral and regional trade, regional connectivity, peace and defense cooperation. During the visit, a number of agreements and MOUs will be signed in areas of mutual interest, including transportation of goods, cooperation between chambers of commerce of the two countries, trade, education, culture and tourism. A preferential trade agreement between Pakistan and Uzbekistan is also expected. In addition, it has been agreed to launch flight operations between Uzbekistan and Pakistan. The Premier will also participate in the International Conference on Central and South Asia Regional Connectivity, Challenges and Opportunities. This visit to key Central Asian country reaffirms Pakistan's commitment to regional connectivity and development. Pakistan and Central Asian countries are deeply connected by unfathomable culture, spiritual and historical bonds. As Afghan endgame is unfolding post-US withdrawal, Pakistan has reinvigorated its efforts to catalyze interconnected regional architecture to usher inclusive development. The Trans-Afghan Railway project is the most important project to connect Pakistan with Central Asia, and crystallization of this project would foster mutually beneficial regional connectivity. The spirited attempt to bolster ties with Uzbekistan, the important Central Asian republic, would bring colossal opportunities for business community.
And to talk more about this very important and historic visit of Pakistan, of our Prime Minister and his delegation to Uzbekistan in Tashkent. Of course, Tashkent is part of Uzbekistan. We've been joined by Abdul Jalil Saab. He's a leading economist of Pakistan. Abdul Jalil Saab. Pakistan always wants to talk trade, and of course I think this is very important in this present era when countries want to stand on their own feet, countries like Pakistan. How important is our Prime Minister's visit to Uzbekistan in this context? And of course we also know that 100 plus businessmen are there in Tashkent as we speak, along with the delegation.
The key factor which plays a very important role in socio-economic development of society is the state effort, that how far it has succeeded in creating or in developing a regional economic bloc. Because a regional economic bloc always creates a creates a big market for you, especially for those products which can be easily sent right in your nearby markets, which like perishable goods, fruits, and other things which doesn't need. And secondly, the movement of the people is as compared to the bigger market which are far off from across the continent. It is easier for ordinary traders, for a common man to move around within that setup, even for the tourism purpose, and indirectly by way of the product, you will see it will contribute towards the development of economy. In this respect, I would say the Uzbekistan holds a very key position, geographical position in this whole of Central Asia. It is highly developed country, in fact, in certain areas, especially in a heavy engineering or in a heavy engineering sector, number one, housing and town planning. Number three is the agricultural. Its agriculture system is very well developed, especially it is one of the biggest cotton producing country in the world, and that cotton is very high quality. And then orchards, fruits of various kinds, and they are found in abundance. And they have developed a very effective agriculture system from which we can learn a lot from it. Then fourthly, we carry a special socio-cultural and spiritual relationship with Central Asia as well. In each country, we have got some kind of a great association with them. As you know, over the last 1,000 years, the Muslim invaders, they have been coming from this area who have brought about a new art, literature, architecture, their own traditions. And we have inherited those features in our own country. As Qaid-e-Azam used to say that the Pakistan is basically going to replicate the miniaturized form of Central Asia in this respect. Now, what you see is that Pakistan and then Uzbekistan holds a key position in the entire Central Asia as well. If you have developed a close economic ties and trade ties with Uzbekistan, it means that you will be able to develop a very effective social and physical accessibility and physical connectivity with rest of the Central Asian countries, such as Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and the Tajikistan, of course. And then this is a country with which this country has got a lot of interest in Pakistan, not by virtue of its socio-historical relationship, but they have also got a very well-defined economic interest. They want to sell goods in the rich Arab market, with which they have got also a very close relationship through their,
What about the Pakistani markets, Abdul Jalil Sahab? Of course, we understand that there are a lot of potential from the Uzbek market in Pakistan. What about the Pakistani exports to Uzbekistan? What kind of exports do you feel the Uzbek businessmen or the Uzbek people will be interested?
Pakistani, number one is textile, which is relatively at a cheaper rate. Textile product. This is very important. And number two is that the construction industry, material. We produce a lot of construction material industry. They need it. For example, Uzbekistan is one of those countries which has solved the housing problem in its own country. They have introduced a modern, apartment systems, a high-rise building as well, from which we need to learn a lot from it.
All right. What about the surgical goods or, for example,
yes, of course,
sports?
They are importing a lot of surgical goods and the sports material or the sports stuff from Pakistan. But in fact, this is being done at a modest level. We need to explore new avenue in this respect.
What about the pharmaceutical industry? Do you feel
pharmaceutical industry? Yes, the whole of Central Asia. This is the whole of Central Asia carries a very good prospect for the absorption of the Pakistani pharmaceutical goods. Unfortunately, we could not make dent or could not put up a dent in this respect because of our inactive role in this region. And I think that the Prime Minister's visit to it will help us to open an avenue in this respect as well.
A preferential trade agreement is also to be signed between the two countries. How will it also make the two countries come closer in the field of trade and investment?
Omar, if you see Central Asia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, it constitutes geographically a one block. You know, culturally, socially, historically, we enjoy such a deep-rooted relationship. And especially if you go through the history and when you try to read the name of the hero, you will find most of them, they have either born in Kabul or in Afghanistan, or they have born in Central Asia, Farghana. So the question is that the people there in Central Asia, they are also very keen to develop their close ties with us in this respect. And I think Prime Minister have done very well, you know, to pay, especially by taking step in field of the tourism. Tourism plays very important role, you know, in the development of economy. It not only helps you in exchange of the information, but it also helps you in at least in opening your market. In opening your market upon foreign tourists.
You talk of opening of markets, that's a very interesting prospect, because you know both Pakistan and Uzbekistan are interested in the respective routes. Uzbekistan for the sea routes and Pakistan for the land routes, in order to gain Pakistan to gain access to Europe, and of course Uzbekistan to gain access further.
And in certain areas we have got supremacy over, especially in our modern, I mean, the institutional culture of modern institution building, especially our taxation system is far developed. Uzbekistan, this is the financial management system. Their financial management system mostly, although they are trying to modernize them, but they have inherited certain limitations from their communist past, and they want to come up with their new financial management system. In this respect, they have sent from time to time, they have been sending, all Central Asian countries, especially Uzbekistan, they have been sending their students, they have been sending their civil servant to Pakistan in order to learn about the modern system of governance, financial governance system, social governance system. In this respect, we should take initiative and we should help them in development of these modern
There's also
systems.
a very interesting international conference that is to take place in Uzbekistan today and tomorrow on Central and South Asia regional connectivity, challenges and opportunities, where the Afghan president will also be attending. There will be other important leaders also present there. How important is regional connectivity, and what do you feel are the challenges and opportunities that are present inside this region as far as Pakistan is concerned?
You know, this again, it is very important. The conflict within the regional countries, especially with those countries who have inherited the same past, who have carried the same culture, same historicity, the same attitude, and they must, and they have been previously, they have been sharing so many features, especially, right? Have now been distanced because of the several intervening factors. We know it very well. Communism was one of the Russian communism was one of the factors. But now those limitations are over, and but thanks God, in Afghanistan, occupied forces, American occupied forces have left Afghanistan, and the terrorist network of India in Afghanistan is now getting terminated. You know, and very soon we will be able to. We hope that we will be able to have Afghanistan, which will be very peaceful, progressive, and the new leadership of Taliban appears to be quite conscious about it, that they need to build a society which is very progressive, whose men and the women both participate in the activity of the nation building. And we should also contribute ourselves, and I think Prime Minister will definitely talk to them about this Afghan situation and try to seek some kind of a collaboration between these three countries.
All right. Now, the Pakistan-Uzbekistan Business Forum was also inaugurated in Tashkent by our Prime Minister today. He addressed the August ceremony. Of course, he talked about the cooperation, the friendship that exists between Pakistan and Uzbekistan that goes back centuries, in his own words. And of course, he talked about the interest that both countries have in each other in different aspects. We've talked about those as well. And he also said that some of the businessmen who are already there in Tashkent have signed some agreements, especially in the textile sector. Now, you've said that the textile sector is important for Pakistan as well as for Uzbekistan. And Pakistan has a cheaper textile sector, I mean, as far as its exports are concerned, compared to Uzbekistan. Do you feel we can also maybe use Uzbekistan in a positive manner as a platform to further expand our textile trade to other Central Asian countries?
This is very important. Firstly, I would like to add one remark over it. Tashkent, Kabul, Dushanbe, Kabul, Peshawar and Lahore. They are the cities which are closely knit with each other through their same historical tradition, and they replicate each other glories as well. At one point of a time, you know, this is Kissa Khani Bazaar in Peshawar is known. It is a bazaar of the storyteller because the people used to bring stories from Central Asia.
Of course,
that's why, and they used to stay. Number one, and number two, you know, Uzbekistan is a very developed country in this. And firstly, its market is very well developed. Its communication system with Russia is very well developed, and they have got a close connectivity with the European, especially Baltic state as well. Right. This is additional advantage which we should try to explore as well. As you know, the Chinese, the way they are building up their CPEX one road one as part of the OBAR. In Pakistan, similarly, they are trying to also develop connectivity with Europe, with Baltic region through Central Asia as well. And Uzbekistan holds a very key position in this whole route as well. So I think so. There is going to now this is a great strategic moment that have arrived, that the CPEX the CPEX can be easily integrated. This communication network can be further used by and it can be enlarged. It can be enlarged to include the Central Asian communication network system, which will onward, you know, it will extend itself into the mainland of Russia as well as into the Baltic region and beyond. Northern Europe.
And beyond. Thank you very much, Abdul Jalil Sahab, to have talked to us. I will end with this little comment by Prime Minister Imran Khan, who said, it is personally a great pleasure for me to visit Uzbekistan, a country which we are connected to culturally, historically and spiritually. Here's to more contact and cooperation between the two friendly countries. More after this short break. Welcome back to Newsroom. Now in our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, the Afghan Taliban captured a border crossing of Spin Boldak along the border with Pakistan, and what they confiscated was an amount of around 3 billion Pakistani rupees in currency notes that were left by the Afghan forces. Now, security officials have said that this money is being used by the NDS and the RAW to fund terror activities in Pakistan. More in the following report.
The hushed US exit from Afghanistan has been followed by dramatic developments whereby ground realities are unfolding at astronomical pace, shaping the contours of post-US withdrawal country. While sensing the urgency of volatile regional developments, Information and Broadcasting Minister Fawad Chaudhry apprised that Pakistan would host an exclusive conference to secure comprehensive peace settlement in war-ravaged western neighbor. The development surfaced after Premier Imran Khan held a telephonic conversation with former Afghan President Hamid Karzai. As Afghanistan descends into chaos, Pakistan, as responsible regional stakeholder, is striking to bridle the impending instability that might substantially wreck regional security matrix. The Taliban have in recent days seized major border crossings and important security checkposts hitherto controlled by Afghan security apparatus. As the Taliban continued with their onslaught against the Afghanistan government, the group issued a statement mentioning that about 3 billion Pakistani rupee was confiscated from the checkpost of the Afghan forces in the Spin Boldak area of Kandahar, which was evacuated by the Afghan security forces. Reportedly, the incident of this swooping cash unravels criminal nexus between Afghan security instruments, smugglers, mafias and anti-Pakistan intelligence agencies. The money seems to have been channelized to format instability in Pakistan through RAW-operated terror proxies. India has a persistent history of hatching conspiracies against Pakistan, and Afghan agencies have been active sub-franchise of Indian security establishment. Pakistan has always played constructive role to avert any protracted civil war in Afghanistan, but India has always played role of rogue spoiler in the Afghan peace process.
Now, we'll talk more about this revelation and more as far as the Indian designs if from Afghanistan into Pakistan are concerned, and what is going to happen in the coming days and months. We've been joined by Air Commodore retired Basit Raza. He's a political analyst. Sir, thank you very much to have joined us. Sir, first of all, does it come to you as a surprise, this confiscation of around 3 billion rupees by the Afghan Taliban at an area that is, of course, supposedly being used by the RAW and the NDS in order to fund such activities through terror proxies?
The most vital trade route between Pakistan and Afghanistan, because through this route they reach the port at Karachi. Of course, they have other routes which have been captured by Taliban in Tajikistan and towards Iran side, Herat and Helmand, and also towards Uzbekistan and towards China. So all these routes they have been captured. But coming back to the point, what are the Indian designs? So this is yet another proof of Indian collusion with the present Afghan setup. You call it a government, Afghan government, which has been trying to stab Pakistan in its back. And there are many evidences of that, and this is the latest. So we can see that this is what the present setup of Afghanistan has been doing. It is their machinations against Pakistan in cohort with the Indians.
But sir, does it come as a surprise to you, this huge amount of money that is supposedly being used for by terror proxies and of course funded by India and its intelligence services?
This is not a surprise to me because there's so many other proofs. We have Kulbhushan Yadav with us, and this is just one of the examples. So it's all very well known to us, and we have been trying to tell the world these are Indian designs and their sort of this behind the back stabbing activities. The world didn't listen to us, unfortunately. And I think let me also tell you that we have to be now very clear on how we view Taliban, because as far as I'm concerned, I see some hope in the Taliban's ascendancy to power, because I don't think India will have that kind of a free hand which they had till today. And this is the 300 billion rupees is a clear-cut evidence of that.
3 billion, yes.
And, it's not coming from Pakistan. This evidence is coming from inside of Afghanistan. You cannot say that this is Pakistan has created a bogey or something like that.
Of course, but where does this leave these terror proxies that are currently operating from inside of Afghanistan? Now that the Taliban are slowly and steadily gaining more control in Afghanistan, do you feel that they will also be able to control these terror proxies, or what in your point of view is going to happen?
I want to tell you, Batsab, that Pakistan has to sort of understand, or let me say that Pakistan has to see Taliban in a new light. We have been tutoring them for long. We have claimed, rightly so, that it's we who brought the Taliban to negotiation table. They were not ready to do it because they knew that the end of their long saga, this epic struggle, is coming to its natural conclusion. But still they listened to Pakistan. So this is what Pakistan's clout is. Now the whole world is recognizing Taliban. You must have read the statement of British Foreign Minister who said that we are ready to work with Taliban. The British government is ready to work with Taliban. You must have read the Zamir Kabulov, the special representative of Mr. Putin to Afghanistan, that the Afghan government should negotiate with Taliban instead of just dragging their feet in the top.
Course.
They should now come to see us. So when the world is recognizing Taliban as their rising power in Afghanistan, why shouldn't we? We have a legacy sort of linkage with them, and on whose bidding, on whose request, or on whose convincing, they went on to the negotiation table, and this is the result of that which we see today. So we have to now, from being a tutor, they are not our proteges. It's only that it's nice of them that they listen to us because they still consider us as a good friend. But friendship is not something which you can take for granted. You have to nurture it. And I'm very surprised that even today in the newspaper, the very report that you have just mentioned of this 300 billion rupees, it reads the Taliban militant have captured the checkpost on the Chaman side towards Afghanistan. Now we call Taliban militant, still we are calling them militant. We never called US militants who were sort of bombarding and daisy cutters and Tora Bora and everything they created over there. We never called German militants or British militants or NATO militants. Why are we calling Taliban militants? They're only doing what all these forces did for 20 years.
All right, now Basit, let me kind of put your attention towards another angle, that is, of course, peace and the way forward in Afghanistan. We know that the Afghan president is going to go, or is already in Uzbekistan, because there's a very important meeting, a two-day meeting that is going to be held, in which our Prime Minister Imran Khan will also be present. You talked about the current Afghan government being cognizant of the Afghan Taliban, and that it should sit together with the Taliban in order to carve out a future strategy. Now, there is, on one hand, this important the two-day conference that is going to be held. On the other hand, our Minister Fawad Chaudhry has also said that Pakistan is going to host an exclusive conference on the crisis being faced by Afghanistan. How important are these two conferences, in your point of view, for Pakistan to make the other countries in the region understand its perspective, and also make the Afghans, the different factions in Afghanistan, understand that the only way forward in order to strengthen Afghanistan is through a peaceful country?
I would only say that there are some parties which are India-centric, and Afghan government unfortunately happens to be one of them. So you can shout your throat sore, and they would still keep, their raga would remain the same. They would blame Pakistan for whatever else in Afghanistan, despite a very conciliatory and sort of very good part played by Pakistan in bringing this long war and bloodshed to almost an end. But these are all steps in the right direction. But we must keep engaged with Taliban and stop pressurizing them now, and let the natural events take their own course. And the history has its own course. And the Afghan Taliban, they have fought a battle for 20 years against the might of the world's mightiest forces. And now that this war, this long saga is coming to its logical conclusion, we should accept the realities more than others. I have just quoted two examples of two world nations, Britain and Russia, who have realized that it's the Taliban who are the power of tomorrow, not of a distant tomorrow, actually today. I would call it, it's the de facto power now. So it's only a matter of time that the Afghan government either comes to terms and accepts what is offered at Doha talks, or otherwise they will melt away in the melting pot of history.
Final question, sir. Where does that leave the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, NDS, raw nexus? Where does this leave the Indian involvement to create disharmony and, of course, all these nefarious activities in Pakistan? Where does that leave all these other terror proxies that are being used by India? How do you see that?
This is what I mean by engaging with Taliban. And this is what I mean by saying that we should, instead of telling them to do this and do that, we should discuss those areas which are of mutual interest. And this TTP is the greatest sore point for Pakistan. And this is what we need to discuss with Taliban at the topmost, at the first available opportunity. And instead of running around from pillar to post doing many other things, let's do this most vital activity. Let's hear from them how they view Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. What I read from their representatives, their spokespersons, they have very clearly said it's a policy statement from Taliban that their soil will not be used for any aggression or any sort of nefarious activities against any other country. And Pakistan happens to be one such other country. And if TTP, if we have to sort of depend, if we have to trust the words of Taliban, and we should, in fact, then and this is what we should demand, that this is what your stance is. So please, whenever you have the sway in Afghanistan, we don't want this TTP to raise its head again, and it will be your responsibility to crush their head if they ever try to raise it over there.
Thank you very much, Air Commodore Basit Raza Basit Saab, to have joined us and to have talked to us in detail about not only this nexus that is operating from inside of Afghanistan, of proof of which has been again unveiled by the Afghan Taliban with this amount of 3 billion rupees in currency, but also on how different countries in the region need to move forward in order to create not only harmony in Afghanistan, but also get rid of all those elements that are trying to create such nefarious designs for countries in the region. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. And now let's go to our last two segments very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let's talk about COVID positivity, the cases that have increased, the fourth wave that is upon us, whether it be our Prime Minister, whether it be Asad Umar Saab, whether it be Dr. Faisal Sultan, that they have all warned us that we need to be extremely vigilant, get ourselves vaccinated at the earliest, and of course do the needful, that is A, follow the SOPs, B, avoid crowded places. Eid ul-Azha is upon us. It's going to be next Wednesday. It's pertinent that we avoid, and I say avoid any places where we see a lot of people who are not following the SOPs, not wearing the masks. And of course, we need to keep a very safe distance. The Delta variant is also upon us. We know that there are different cases across Pakistan of the Delta variant that have been discovered. And the Delta variant is one of the most vicious variants. The Delta variant, or the Indian variant, of course, is one of the most deadly variants of this COVID-19 that has now entered Pakistan. It has also created havoc in many other countries as we speak. The positivity ratio across different cities of Pakistan has also increased, whether it be Gilgit 23.17%, Skardu 21.26%, Karachi 19.29%, and of course the Sindh government has taken different measures in order to curtail that. Rawalpindi 11.97%, our capital Islamabad 6.2%, Lahore is 3.8%, Peshawar is 9.4%. We need to be extremely, and I repeat, extremely careful in these days and get yourselves vaccinated at the very earliest. We know that none of the vaccines will cover us from of course, the different forms of the virus at 100%, but nevertheless, they will protect us to a large extent. So, of course, we need to do that. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we know that our former President Mamnoon Hussain Sahab passed away on Wednesday in Karachi after prolonged illness. He was 80 years of age. He served as the 12th President of Pakistan between the September of 2013 and September of 2018. He replaced President Asif Ali Zardari and of course was then succeeded by President Arif Alvi. Born in 1940, he not only was a graduate of the IBA, but he was also the 12th President of Pakistan, and he resigned from his membership of the PMLN soon after the results of the elections were announced, in which he was seen as a symbolic move to establish himself as a non-partisan president. He was somebody who spoke a lot and who knew a lot, whether it be poetry, whether it be literature, and of course he was quite soft-spoken, and Pakistan has Pakistan has sent its condolences to the former President of Pakistan and his family, whether it be the different chiefs of the air forces or our President Dr. Arif Alvi, who have of course sent their condolences through different forms of media. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Please follow the SOPs. Allah Hafiz.